Chapter 9. Betrayal. That's the first thing I feel, which is ludicrous. For there to be betrayal, there would have to have been trust first, between Pita and me, and trust has not been part of the agreement. We're tributes. But the boy who risked a beating to give me bread, the one who steadied me in the chariot, who covered for me with the red-headed Avox girl, who insisted Haymitch know my hunting skills, was there some part of me that couldn't help trusting him? Okay, so Katniss feels so hurt. She feels so betrayed, and she says, "No, nga, it's stupid that I feel betrayed because I never should have trusted him." Okay, but the thing is, don't forget the good things Pita has done for her. Said good, even back in the very beginning when he gave her bread and he got kind of beat up by his mom just so he could give her bread, and all of the good things he's been doing for her since they've both been chosen as tributes, Pita has done so many good things to her. And so, even though she knows that she didn't really trust him, a part of her did trust him. A part of her did really respond to the kindness he showed, And now she feels hurt that all of a sudden he doesn't want to train with her. On the other hand, I'm relieved that we can stop the pretense of being friends. Obviously, whatever thin connection we'd foolishly formed has been severed, and high time too. The games begin in 2 days, and trust will only be a weakness. Whatever triggered Pita's decision, and I suspect it had to do with my outperforming him in training, I should be nothing but grateful for it. Maybe he's finally accepted the fact that the sooner we openly acknowledge that we are enemies, the better. Good, I say. So what's the schedule? You'll each have 4 hours with Effie for presentation and 4 with me for content, says Haymitch. You start with Effie, Katniss. I can't imagine what Effie will have to teach me that could take 4 hours, but she's got me working down to the last minute. We go to my room and she puts me in a full-length gown and high-heeled shoes, not the ones I'll be wearing for the actual interview, and instructs me on walking. The shoes are the worst part. I've never worn high heels and can't get used to essentially wobbling around on the balls of my feet. But Effie runs around in them full time, and I'm determined that if she can do it, so can I. The dress poses another problem. It keeps tangling around my shoes, so of course I hitch it up, and then Effie swoops down on me like a hawk, smacking my hands and yelling, "Not above the ankle." When I finally conquer walking, there's still sitting, posture. Apparently, I have a tendency to duck my head, eye contact, hand gestures, and smiling. Smiling is mostly about smiling more. Effie makes me say 100 banal phrases starting with a smile while smiling or ending with a smile. By lunch, the muscles in my cheeks are twitching from overuse. Well, that's the best I can do, Effie says with a sigh. Just remember, Katniss, you want the audience to like you. And you don't think they will, I ask. Not if you glare at them the entire time. Why don't you save that for the arena? Instead, think of yourself among friends, says Effie. They're betting on how long I live, I burst out. They're not my friends. Well, try and pretend, snaps Effie. Then she composes herself and beams at me. See, like this. I'm smiling at you even though you're aggravating me. What's your thoughts on Effie, guys? I find Effie really funny. I find her really likable, even though she's crazy and she does and says stupid things, There's something charming about Effie good. And I like that Katniss is really mean to her, but Effie can still manage to treat Katniss well. Okay, Murag, she's patient with Katniss. And I don't know, there's just something charming. A lot of students end up really liking Effie, even though she kind of looks like a crazy clown and she's part of the Capitol. There's something likable and charming about her. What are your thoughts? Okay, maybe you can discuss that in the comments or even in Classcraft, Yes, it feels very convincing, I say. I'm going to eat. I kick off my heels and stomp down to the dining room, hiking my skirt up to my thighs. Pita and Haymitch seem in pretty good mood, so I'm thinking the content session should be an improvement over the morning. I couldn't be more wrong. After lunch, Hamish takes me into the sitting room, directs me to the couch, and then just frowns at me for a while. What? I finally ask. I'm trying to figure out what to do with you, he says. How we're going to present you. Are you going to be charming, aloof, fierce? So far, you're shining like a star. You volunteered to save your sister. Cinna made you look unforgettable. You've got the top training score. People are intrigued, but no one knows who you are. The impression you make tomorrow will decide exactly what I can get you in terms of sponsors, says Hamish. Having watched tribute interviews all my life, I know there's truth to what he's saying. If you appeal to the crowd either by being humorous or brutal or eccentric, you gain favor. What's Peter's approach? Or am I not allowed to ask, I say. Likeable. He has a sort of self-deprecating humor naturally, says Hamish, whereas when you open your mouth, you come across more as sullen and hostile. I do not, I say. Please, I don't know where you pulled that cheery, wavy girl on the chariot from, but I haven't seen her before or since, says Hamish. And you've given me so many reasons to be cheery, I counter. But you don't have to please me. I'm not going to sponsor you, so pretend I'm the audience, says Hamish. Delight me. Okay, so this is what's really cool about the Hunger Games, and I find this really cool, no? It's not just about who's the strongest. It's also about who can get the most people to like them. And that's something that's true of celebrities, guys, no? Celebrities, it's not always about who's the best actor or the best singer or who's the most talented. Part of being a celebrity is really being likable, getting people to connect with you, no, and to like you. And the Hunger Games, part of winning the Hunger Games is getting people to like you. And so Hamish is confused. He's trying to figure out, what should I do with Katniss? How can I get people to like you so that a lot of people will sponsor you? And that's the thing he said about Pita. Pita is so likable, and we mentioned this before, no? Pita Gyud is very charming. It's very easy for him to get people to like him. But Katniss, as I mentioned before, also, she's cranky and she kind of says like rude things. She's not very likable, okay? And Hamish is trying to figure out, what are we gonna do with you? How are we gonna present you? What sort of tribute will you be that will make people want to sponsor you? Fine, I snarl. Hamish takes the role of the interviewer and I try to answer his questions in a winning fashion. But I can't. I'm too angry with Hamish for what he said and that I even have to answer the questions. All I can think is how unjust the whole thing is, the Hunger Games. Why am I hopping around like some trained dog trying to please people I hate? The longer the interview goes on, the more my fury seems to rise to the surface until I'm literally spitting out answers at him. All right, enough, he says. We've got to find another angle. Not only are you hostile, I don't know anything about you. I've asked you 50 questions and still have no sense of your life, your family, what you care about. They want to know about you, Katniss. But I don't want them to. They're already taking my future. They can't have the things that mattered to me in the past, I say. Then lie, make something up, says Hamish. I'm not good at lying, I say. Well, you better learn fast. You've got about as much charm as a dead slug, says Hamish. Ouch, that hurts. Even Hamish must know he's been too harsh because his voice softens. Here's an idea. Try acting humble. Okay, now, there's just something else the Hunger Games addresses, guys, okay? A lot of the time, celebrities are acting fake, okay? And you can't deny that good, all right? Especially with YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, no? Social media, in order to get people to like us, sometimes we are tempted to be fake. Okay? Now, we want people to like us, so we pretend to be happier than we are, or we pretend to be cooler than we really are. And so that's something that's very true in The Hunger Games. And The Hunger Games is a fictional book, but it's something that's also true in real life, no? A lot of famous people only pretend to be the way they are so that people will like them. All right? In order to get more fans and get more followers, they act a certain way, and it's not who they really are. It's very fake. And I like that Susan Collins is showing this. No nga, hey, Mitch said nga, act fake, lie, make stuff up to get people to like you. If you want people to like you, you have to act that way, all right? And that's very, very dangerous. And Katniss doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to do it, all right? But Haymitch said nga, if you want people to like you, you hate these people, but you need them to like you. You have to do it, okay, in order to survive. And so it's a very, very big problem, and it's a very, very tricky problem. And I think one thing we should do is we should be very happy, and we should be very thankful that we don't need to do that, okay? We don't need to pretend to be something that we're not in order to make people like us, all right? Or at least we're not put in a situation where it's between life and death, all right? But Katniss really hates it. She hates it so much because she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to act fake. She doesn't want to lie, all right? And Haymitch telling her to do it, it's really messed up. Even if it's to help her survive, it's still wrong. Lying, even to stay alive, is still wrong, and we know that. And that's why it's very important that we read this book, we read this book, but we always read it with the Word of God. And the Word of God always tells us that lying is wrong good. Okay? You do not break the truth. You do not manipulate the truth. Even if you think you have a good reason to do it, it's wrong. It's messed up. Alright? So Haymitch telling her to lie, that is not good. Okay? And Haymitch, we all know, I mean, he drinks, he does questionable things. So, not a good move on Haymitch's part. Alright? Not a good character moment for him. Okay? But that's what a lot of people do in the world, to get people to like them, they lie. But it's something we shouldn't do. And he gives her another piece of advice, which is actually better. Okay? Act humble. Humble, I echo. That you can't believe a little girl from District 12 has done this well. The whole thing's been more than you ever could have dreamed of. Talk about Cinna's clothes, how nice the people are, how the city amazes you. If you won't talk about yourself, at least compliment the audience. Just keep turning it back around, alright? Gush. The next hours are agonizing. At once, it's clear I cannot gush. We try me playing cocky, but I just don't have the arrogance. Apparently, I'm too vulnerable for ferocity. I'm not witty, funny, sexy, or mysterious. By the end of the session, I am no one at all. Haymitch started drinking somewhere around witty, and a nasty edge crept into his voice. I give up, sweetheart. Just answer the questions and try not to let the audience see how openly you despise them. And guys, the reason why Katniss is so unlikable is because she hates the Capitol so much, and she can't hide it. She can't hide how much she hates the Hunger Games and the Capitol, which is actually a good thing, because you should hate the Hunger Games, and you should hate what the Capitol is letting them do, And so all she feels is anger, good. She feels nothing else for the Hunger Games and for the Capitol. And no one likes an angry person, alright? Even though she does have a right to be angry. I have dinner that night in my room, ordering an outrageous number of delicacies, eating myself sick, and then taking out my anger at Haymitch, at the Hunger Games, at every living being in the Capitol by smashing dishes around my room. Girl! Okay. Again, we just saw kind of a bad character moment from Haymitch, Haymitch kind of advising Katniss to lie. That was not a good moment for him. And also Katniss, she's so angry, and I know she has a right to be angry, but her eating food and then breaking the plates around her room, it's too much, okay? It's too much. Even though, again, she has a right to be angry, it's like, Katniss, calm down. She's being really unlikable right now. And that's kind of cool, guys, about the book. The book is, people in real life, humans in real life, we do stupid things. We have unlikable moments, okay? Humans can be dishonest, and humans can be very, very angry, and we can lose our tempers, And it's not a nice thing to see. And it's nice that the book's pointing out that our characters, Katniss, Haymitch, they're they really are like real human beings. They're not perfect heroes. They're not perfect human beings because there is no perfect human being, no? There is no... We all have flaws and we all have things that we have to improve on. And I like that the book is showing that. I like that it's showing that Katniss, no? I mean, her temper... It's telling us that her temper isn't cool. Her temper actually makes her very, very unlikable. So, the book really works hard to make the characters realistic because real life human beings, we have flaws, good, okay? And we have things that really make us unlikable. We have things that we have to correct in each other, and we have things that we have to forgive in each other. All right? So this book is really showing us what it is to be human. Okay? And part of being human is really being very imperfect. Good. When the girl with the red hair comes in to turn down my bed, her eyes widen at the mess. Just leave it, I yell at her. Just leave it alone. I hate her too, with her knowing, reproachful eyes that call me a coward, a monster, a puppet of the Capitol, both now and then. For her, justice must finally be happening. At least my death will help pay for the life of the boy in the woods. But instead of fleeing the room, the girl closes the door behind her and goes to the bathroom. She comes back with a damp cloth and wipes my face gently, then cleans the blood from a broken plate off my hands. Why is she doing this? Why am I letting her? I should have tried to save you, I whisper. She shakes her head. Does this mean we were right to stand by? That she has forgiven me? No, it was wrong, I say. She taps her lips with her fingers, then points to my chest. I think she means I would just have ended up an Avox too. Probably would have. An Avox or dead. I spend the next hour helping the red-headed girl clean the room. When all the garbage has been dropped down at disposal and the food cleaned away, she turns down my bed. I crawl in between the sheets like a 5-year-old and let her tuck me in. Then she goes. I want her to stay until I fall asleep, to be there when I wake up. I want the protection of this girl, even though she never had mine. Okay, so Katniss is kind of having a tantrum, and this Avox girl calms her down, good, cleans her up, tucks her into bed. And the thing is, guys, okay, with Katniss, no, we have to see her flaws, good. We have to see her flaws, and at the same time, in seeing her flaws, let's not just hate her, okay? We have to think about it, that Katniss, her life, it's been very, very hard, no? And it's gonna get even harder. It's gonna get even worse because she has to enter into the Hunger Games. She's gonna fight for her life, and she's mad about it. And so, see her flaws and acknowledge her flaws and see that she's a very imperfect human being, but try to still be kind to her. Like this Avox girl, no? If anyone were to hate Katniss, it would be this Avox girl because Katniss didn't save her. But the Avox girl is kind to her, and so Katniss calms down. And we should do that, no, when we see kind of the bad side of human beings, when we see the ugly side of them, instead of hating them or canceling them, it's good to show kindness to them because that will really also calm them down. So, let's try to feel compassion for Katniss, for what she's went through in the past and for what she's going through now. All right, I have to stop. This will be in 2 parts because I'm being called for dinner, and I'm always hungry when I read the Hunger Games. So I'm happy I'm having dinner. So this will be chapter 9 part 1, and then the next video will be chapter 9 part 2. So I'll see you in part 2.